Hello once again, everybody in Psych 267, Research Methods. This week we cover two chapters, Nonviolent Crimes in Chapter 13 and Violent Crimes in Chapter 14. I should let you know that these are not mutually exclusive. Some of the ones we call nonviolent can certainly be violent, but I think you'll see that they really are separate categories. So, let's get started. Chapter 13 or Section 13. First of all, let's take a broader approach. Laws that people have to follow in the state of Arizona. Some of them involve hurting people, others involve things like theft and damage to property, but there's over 500 different laws that we need to follow, and violations of those laws can result in arrest. Some are obvious: murder, rape, arson, assault, robbery. Nobody needs to tell you those are against the law, but other ones are less well known. For example, did you know that selling a concert ticket or a ball game ticket, baseball, football, basketball, hockey, whatever, over face value within 200 feet of the venue where it's being held can get you arrested? Crazy, huh? Using someone else's wireless internet connection without permission, same thing. So, sometimes there's laws that we don't really know about that we still have to follow. Forensic psychologists like me can be asked to consult, evaluate, testify. Usually it's what we call high stakes cases. I have never been called to evaluate or testify or anything else when someone was using someone else's internet or selling a concert ticket. Although the craziest one I had was a teenager who toilet papered his girlfriend's house. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, I did that when I was a teenager. It was just a little prom joke and the parents called the police. Well, anyway, it's usually high stakes crimes, things that are very serious, usually not the less serious ones. Alrighty, moving right along. Why would a psychologist be involved? Because the judge wants to know, and the jury, if it's an adult case, what made the person do it? That's why. Is there anything that would explain it psychologically? A disorder that the person might have, or some kind of reason? So let's get into what these crimes are now. Enough about that introductory stuff. First of all, theft, burglary, and robbery. People tend to use these terms interchangeably, and they really are different. Theft is if you take something from someone. So, if we were in class together, I could use that as an example with someone's water bottle or hydro or someone's pen or pencil. You take it from them. That is theft without permission. Burglary. That means that not only did you steal from somebody, but you trespassed. That wouldn't happen in the classroom, would it? That would happen if you went to someone's house or their property, their place of work, and it was their business or their house or their apartment where they lived. You took something and you trespassed. Burglary. But robbery means you forced it away from somebody. So if somebody calls the police and says, help, I've been robbed, and the 911 operator says, what happened? Oh, I came home and all my stuff is missing. No, you were burglarized. You were not robbed. People don't understand the difference sometimes when they make panicked phone calls like that. So I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Let's talk about different types of burglary. Third-degree burglary, that means that you went into someone's property and you remained there unlawfully and illegally, but that is non-residential. You intended to take something or you did take something. Second-degree burglary is the same thing, but it is somebody's residence. So you're not just in a building or an enclosed structure, it's where someone lives. And first-degree burglary is when the person has a weapon or an explosive device. Did you notice it doesn't say the person used it? It just says they have it with them. So you could have a screwdriver in your pocket, not even remember that it was there because you just left work at the auto shop. You know what? That is first-degree burglary if you went to somebody's house and stole something. That's pretty serious. Robbery. This is when you force something away from somebody. Aggravated robbery means you had an accomplice. Someone else was with you, even if both of you didn't actively participate in forcing the item from someone else. Armed robbery means you have a weapon. There's some kind of threat. Even knocking somebody down, yeah, that would be it. Or threatening them, I'm going to kick your butt or something. Yeah, those would be examples of armed robbery if you have a weapon in your possession and you try to force something from somebody. See what I mean? These can be violent, but you're going to see in the next section they're really violent. Last thing here, fraudulent schemes and artifices. That is a fancy way of saying you got ripped off. I saw a news story one time about people going into the neighborhood of, oh gosh, I can't remember which one, where elderly people lived, and they would say, do you want us to inspect your roof? It might be leaking. And then they come down and they're like, oh yeah, your roof needs to be fixed. And then they go up there and charge them hundreds or thousands of dollars to do nothing. Do you really think grandpa or grandma's really going to go up there to check the work to see if it was done right? They were ripping people off. Fraudulent schemes and artifices. I could give a million more examples, but that's just one. So this is kind of interesting. What about shoplifting, theft, burglary, or robbery? Well, as you can see in the answer, it all depends how it went down. What happened exactly? That really does make a difference of whether you just took something or whether you trespassed, you weren't supposed to be in the store, or did you force it from them? Even if you knocked somebody over and you didn't mean to, yeah, that would still be considered robbery because you kind of forced your way out of the store. See, it gets complicated, don't you think? Okay, moving right along. The violent crimes. Up, here we go, another blank page. I wonder if that's in your reading packet too, or just mine. Violent crimes. Let's talk about it. You ready? First of all, we talked about this before. High stakes. That's when you pay for a psychologist and other expert witnesses. Almost always high stakes. So it says that right here. Moving right along. Negligent homicide. This is certainly high stakes. You were negligent and you caused somebody's death. You were doing something that you shouldn't have been doing. For example, taking a boat out when it's extremely stormy and somebody dies. You were negligent. You should not have been doing that. Manslaughter means that you were reckless. So drinking while intoxicated, DUI, and you kill someone, I think that would be considered reckless. Even though your attorney might want it to be negligent homicide, that you were just being careless and not paying attention, I bet the prosecutor would see that as manslaughter, that you were reckless. That is usually the case when somebody's under the influence. Now, in Arizona, if the victim is a pregnant woman, that counts as two people. That's not true in all states, but it sure is in Arizona, so just be aware of that. Second-degree murder is intentionally killing someone, but there's no proof that you thought about it in advance. Someone says something rude to you and you push that person over a ledge, you're on a bridge or something. Yeah, you intended to do that, but maybe you didn't give it much thought in advance. First-degree murder. You purposely did it. You planned it out, and there is evidence of it. And yes, if it's a pregnant woman, that's 2 counts of first-degree murder. By the way, in Arizona, first-degree murder is the only thing that can be a death penalty case. Just so you know, it says it right there at the end of that paragraph. All right, psychological aspects of murder. You ready? Here is what I want you to know. Sometimes there is a reason, and that reason, more than anything else, is revenge. John Douglas talks about that in the book that we're reading, doesn't he? Anatomy of Motive. You want to get back at someone. When someone is killed, the first question that we ask is, who wanted that person dead? Are there ever stranger murders and drive-bys and things like that? Yes. But evidence says that 3/4 of the time to 90% of the time, it depends which study you read, but it's almost always, any way you look at it, it's somebody who wanted you dead. And therefore, that's what we look at. Is it a sexual thing? Is it a drug thing? Is it a money thing? Somebody wants revenge on you for one reason or another. That's almost always the reason. So, multiple murders. Let's talk about that. I'm going to keep it simple because this has come up before, especially in the Douglas book. So, here's what I want you to know. And by the way, your cases are going to be on PowerPoint, and your whole class will get to see them. All the PowerPoints, a lot of them fall into these three categories that we're about to go over. Mass murders. Somebody in one place shoots a whole bunch of people or stabs a whole bunch of people or whatever. It's often a shooting if it's, multiple people. But 3 or more, mass murders. That's what it's called. Spree killers. You go to multiple sites in sequence or quickly, usually within the same day if we're going to define it as a spree killing, and 3 or more people are killed. However, it's in different locations. And a lot of times the person is methodical. They want to make a statement. They want to prove a point. They want to show that they're in charge. Mass murders and spree killers. By the way, mass murders usually assume they're going to die because they either take their own life or they do something so the police have to shoot them, like they point at the police, their gun after they have already shot people. They usually expect to die. The guy, James Holmes, who was responsible for the Colorado movie theater mass murder, the police caught him in the parking lot, and the first thing he said to them was, "Oh, I thought you were just going to shoot me." He was kind of surprised, and this has happened many other times too. But usually, they expect to die on the scene. Again, spree killers like Andrew Cunanan, yeah, he killed people on different days. That's a rare example of taking a few days in between and then killing another person. Gianni Versace, the fashion designer, he was one of the people killed. But that was a rare case of a spree killing that took a while. Usually it's within hours or maybe a day or two that the person goes to multiple locations. Finally, serial killers. If those other ones aren't scary enough, serial killers are like a shark in the ocean where they'll circle around you before they pounce. Well, serial killers pick in advance who they want to kill. They'll stalk you. They'll, cut out things from the newspaper if you were in the paper or in a magazine or something. If you read all these classic serial killer cases, it's scary how much planning they do, going to great lengths to pick who they want to kill. 3 or more people. There's some well-known serial killers, and some of you have cases this semester of serial killers or spree killers or mass murderers. So, here is the last thing. Ready? Personality traits. Mass murderers are usually the least well-adjusted. People who know you would say, "Oh yeah, that person is troubled," or "You were a loner. Gee, he had no social skills, would never talk to anyone." Spree killers tend to snap like a boiling pot of liquid on the stove. People who know you say it's getting worse and worse and worse, and then you just kind of blow. And that is the warning sign. Serial killers, what did I just say? That they are perhaps the most scary because they seem so normal. Almost every time a serial killer is caught and they interview people who know that person, that's the first thing that they say is, "I never would have thought it was him because he just seemed so normal. He helped me put up my Christmas tree. He helped me clean my rain gutters." Things like that. It's just, wow, nobody expected it. So, mass murder, spree killers, and serial killers definitely have different personality traits as far as the criminal profile goes. And again, not a lot of you, because some of you have financial cases or poisonings or arson cases, but the ones that have people who kill multiple people, you will find that they will likely fit into one of those three categories and that the personality traits fit as well. All right, well, that is it for this one. Take care.